country sent a message. And it wasn't whispered, was it? It was roared. From Doncaster to Dover, thousands of everyday Brits stood up and said, enough is enough. This was the Great British National Strike.
Enough is enough. 16 months in power, and today more than 40 communities from Doncaster to Dover broke the silence, sending Westminster a warning it can no longer ignore. The working class, the very people who delivered Labour's landslide, are now leading the pushback because the government promised change, but U-turned more than 12 times in its first year. Key commitments vanished faster than they were announced. Public trust has fallen to its lowest point since Labour took office. No leader, no organisation, no coordinated movement, just one message echoed across the country: enough is enough.
This is what it is for. A changed Labour Party, ready to serve our country, ready to restore Britain to the service of working people.
The working class is not asking for privilege. They are asking for the minimum foundations required for a functioning economy, a tax system that does not load the burden onto wage earners. Laws applied equally across all tiers of society, freedom of expression that is not quietly reduced, agricultural policies stable enough for farmers to survive, government decisions that are consistent and transparent. Yet over the past 16 months, the numbers tell a different story. A frozen income tax threshold pulling millions into higher taxation without any rise in wages. Living costs up more than 20% in just 2 years. Energy and food bills remaining at historic highs. Council tax rising by 5 to 7% annually. Interest rates forcing more than 1.4 million households to pay up to £500 extra each month on their mortgages. Meanwhile, Westminster has signalled something entirely different. More than 12 policy reversals, manifesto pillars quietly dismantled, priorities shifting week by week. Working class concerns repeatedly pushed to the bottom of the agenda. No coherent explanation for major adjustments. The result is a widening gap between what people endure and what the government actually delivers. No dialogue, no accountability, no stable direction. Only a cold, unmistakable conclusion remains. The needs and the response no longer align. Throughout the past year, pressure points have appeared across the country, not from one single crisis, but from the basic services people rely on simply no longer functioning as they once did. Train and bus cancellations have increased by nearly 20%, leaving hundreds of thousands of workers unable to reach their jobs on time. An industrial nation cannot maintain its rhythm when even daily travel becomes a matter of chance. In hospitals, waiting times have surged. Emergency cases now face hours before initial treatment. A healthcare system does not collapse overnight. It slows week by week until people realise they are no longer receiving the standard of care they once had. In residential areas, police forces report clear staffing shortages. Non-life-threatening cases are delayed, pushing many communities to rely on volunteer patrols. The housing market remains under strain. Rents have risen 25 to 30%, far outpacing wage growth and forcing families to leave homes they have lived in for decades. Small shops are closing faster than new ones open, not because business failed, because the cost of staying open has surpassed any reasonable margin. In rural areas, production is contracting. Not because of weather, but because input costs are now so unpredictable that farmers cannot plan their seasons. Individually, each sign is an inconvenience. Together, appearing simultaneously across transport, healthcare, housing, policing and food supply, they form a fracture line running through the entire country. No formal declaration needed, no red alert required. This is no longer instability. This is the early stage of losing control. A government can only function stably when it maintains three foundations: policies that do not shift constantly, execution that follows clear discipline, and commitments that are carried through. At present, all three are disappearing. Over the past 16 months, the government has executed more than 12 U-turns across taxation, energy, immigration and public services. This frequency of reversal does not signal flexibility, it signals the absence of a unified strategy. In Westminster, national priorities now change week by week. A bill is pushed into the urgent category and then withdrawn from the agenda days later. No stable timetable, no proper consultation cycle. At number 10, governing messages repeatedly contradict policy actions, promising to control costs while implementing measures that drive them higher, pledging tax stability while increasing the burden through frozen thresholds. The decision-making process no longer matches the government's public messaging. Inside Whitehall, misalignment is unmistakable. The Home Office demands additional funding for security and border control. The Department of Health reports an inability to implement directives due to shortages in staff and infrastructure. The Treasury calls for delays or reductions in programmes that have not demonstrated clear effectiveness. 3 core departments, 3 different priorities, 3 different operational rhythms. No central coordinating axis remains. Election period commitments such as stable taxes, support for farmers and stronger public services are all being revised in the opposite direction. No detailed explanation, no replacement timeline. When a government rewrites its plans faster than its system can execute them, the public does not see reform. They see a machine that can no longer control its own mechanisms. A system can change direction many times. The working class cannot. When their trust breaks, the government loses its foundation. When a governing system loses stability, people feel it first. Not through reports, but through daily changes. The working class now lives in continuous uncertainty. They do not know which costs will rise next, which policy will shift overnight, or which promise still holds value. This creates a new pattern of behaviour. Everyone must protect themselves before anything else. They delay buying homes because interest rates look unpredictable. They cut spending because they expect another bill to increase. They stop planning long term because the rules keep changing. This is not pessimism. It is how a society reacts when trust levels fall. And this is the most important lesson of this period. When the system becomes unstable, people must assess risk rather than rely on political assurances. No anger, no dramatic reaction, just wide-scale caution. Older workers now repeat the same line. It is not that we do not want to trust, we just do not know what we can trust anymore. That is the real cost, not financial, but the gradual erosion of confidence. In such a moment, the problem is no longer a single policy error. It is a weakened sense of safety across society. This becomes the emotional core of the moment. People are forced to live more cautiously than they ever intended. All the instability of the past 16 months leads to one unavoidable point. The UK must examine the durability of its current model, not which party is right, something deeper. Can a system maintain trust while changing direction so often? Can a government persuade people if explanations always arrive after decisions? Can a country remain stable if the working class no longer knows what comes next? Every nation faces difficulty. The difference lies in how it manages uncertainty. A nation's stability does not come from promises. It comes from delivering consistently. If strategies shift faster than people can adapt, if decisions are revised without clear reasoning, if everyday life becomes defined by unpredictability, then the issue is not public reaction, but the quality of the governing structure. That is why this video does not end with a conclusion, but with a question each viewer must consider. Does the current model still provide the stability people expect? No accusation, no call to action, just a pause for national reflection. Because in the end, a system remains strong only as long as people believe it can protect them. Amid all the turbulence, one constant has kept the UK steady. The quiet resilience of ordinary people. Those who leave for work before sunrise and return late. Families adjusting every bill. Workers keeping schools, hospitals and industries running. They are the most stable part of the country. And when the system shifts faster than expected, their calm persistence becomes the reminder that matters most. Every policy, every promise and every long-term plan must ultimately serve the lives of these people. This is not a conclusion, it is simply a moment to reflect. The UK is strongest, not when it avoids hardship, but when its people continue to show patience, steadiness and responsibility in their daily work.
Everyone keeps walking in front of that. I'm trying to get a picture of that sign. Move out of the way!